Okay, welcome on this edition of Maizex Moving. We've again joined Horst Bohner, OMAFRA Soybean Specialist in a field of soybeans. And Horst, I guess one of the key questions that I have for you today is, what is the impact of soil test levels on bean yields? You know, the OMAFRA perspective is sort of a sufficiency perspective. You could have modest soil test levels if you fed the soybeans that year, the previous fall, in the spring. You could maintain soybean yields, contrasted to sort of elevating, putting on P and K to elevate soil test levels. And side-by-side plots to compare that have always been hard to find. I think you've got some of that going on here. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing there?
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. So you hit the nail on the head. We've known for, 75 years that if your soil test is really poor, you throw some fertilizer on, you get a response. And soybeans are the same. We've redone that work over 10 years. We have a nice data set that shows if your soil test is low, we can get as much as 5 bushels out of P and K, right? Typically not more, but it's a nice response.
Right.
The fundamental question, though, is in this new era of 60, 70, 80 bushels, is that approach adequate, or do you have to take your soil test from a poor place, build it to a reasonable P and K soil test level, right? Yeah. And then you're going to take beans to the next plateau. So what we've got here is a 6-year project, hopefully a 9-year project if we get the funding to do it, and we've got a 3-crop rotation, Greg, and it'll be really neat to see how the yields turn out this year, because we're seeing some things that we wouldn't have expected, to be honest with you, in terms of this build versus just feed them the year of.
Right. So at this Bornholm site, you have blocks that you've built the P and built the K and built both of them, and then I'm assuming you have a block where P and K levels have been left to slump if
that's right.
hold their own.
That's right, where we haven't broadcast anything, and we have across those blocks different what we're calling starter treatments, or year of. So absolutely, those are the comparisons, yeah.
And so far the message seems to be that the building of the soil test is more critical for high bean yields than you might have guessed.
Yeah, and I really want to make it clear that we don't have the full picture yet by any stretch of the imagination. This is going to take quite a few years. What we've learned so far, especially at sites that are even lower than here, a little less organic matter, a little lower in P and K, boy, we're having a real hard time getting maximum yields or even close to good yields by just feeding the year of, right? And so at Elora last year, we had a difference of 12 bushels feeding versus having fed in the past and built not to a crazy level, right? That's a whole different question in terms of these big yield guys that really we're saying, are we ever going to be able to do that economically? I don't know. Here what we're trying to do is the responsible thing of the economic, the environmental, but we gotta pay the bills. So what is the right approach, right?
Yeah, so you alluded to that idea. I get this feeling that when we talk about sort of soybean yields that go north of 100 bushels, that it quite often is connected with very high rates of P and K and even nitrogen in some cases application. So we build soil test levels to the point where no one wants to even take a soil sample anymore. And it does seem to have a significant impact on yield. Are you seeing the same sort of thing? Well,
we have some experiments set out to try and address that very question. You know the old saying that soybeans don't respond well to fertilizer, but they respond very well to soil fertility, right? That's been around for a long time. Is that true from what I'm seeing? Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. So I have a theory, though, that we don't need to build the soil test to a crazy level. That's not what's getting these 100+ bushels. I actually think we can maybe achieve that same pod set and retention with much lower levels in the soil, but feeding at the right time, because it's the nutrients in the plant that make the difference, not what's in the soil. right? Now you're going to say, well, how do I get blah, blah. I get that. That's the hard part. But from an economic standpoint and environmental, we can't just give all kinds of P and K and expect that to be the answer. But I do believe, Greg, and I'm going out on a limb, I think we can take soybeans from a 45 bushel average in this province to something much higher if we learn this feeding concept of soybeans. And I'm going to go out on a stretch here and say, I think 20 bushels are in play here.
Right on. Cool. So it's October 5th, 2016. We've got you on record, Horst. 20 bushels. Can you do this before your career's over? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Hey, thanks for all the good work you're doing. Appreciate you joining us
very
today.
good. Thank you for the invitation.
All right.